But they're all fun.
No heat there.
Go ahead and just flip him up. There we go. Right in the corner of the mouth. Little guy, but they're all fun. Do you want to hold them?
Ah, I'm all caught up.
There you go. Nice little guy.
They're cute when they're small.
Good job, baby.
All right, now I'm in need of some major surgery.
See, now this is the joys of I would definitely fish in a soft plastic here. But this is exactly what we want that bait to do. We want it to ball up, get away. So when we set the hook, that hook goes right in. And there's nothing that'll impede that hook going in that fish's mouth. All right, you're back in business.
Thank you.
The other question I get asked quite a bit when it comes to topwaters is actually color patterns. And honestly, color patterns to me really don't make much of a difference when it comes to a topwater, other than having a white belly or a dark belly. Today we're actually running, this is actually that sexy shad type pattern. It's got that G finish pearlescent body to it. Like I said, that white body is really what I like. That's pretty much all those fish are gonna see. They'll get a little bit of flash of that yellow stripe that's right there along the side. And that'll actually just give them that little bit of color as that bait's zigging and zagging. So realistically, you know, top colors really don't mean a whole heck of a lot as long as you have a good white belly, or in some cases we've done very well where we have a dark belly. It gives a little more contrast, throws a little bigger shadow to it as well. But color is not a huge priority to me when it comes to topwater. Just that belly color is really it. There we go. Oh, of course she had to go straight down into those weeds. Not a real big fish. They're all pretty, they're all fun, that's for darn sure. With this thick vegetation that we're in, even though, like I say, we do want to run a monofilament for topwater so we can get that stretch to it. What I really like though is having a good monofilament that's got a lot of abrasion resistance to it. This is that P-Line CXX. Good abrasion resistance. Even if I had a fish take me down into that vegetation, I don't have to worry about it nicking up my line, getting weak spots and breaking that fish off. So it'll give me all the abrasion resistance I need, but still give me that stretch so they can suck that bait right on in.
Oh, got a fish. Oh, she's dancing for me. Where you at, honey?
You can swing them on up. Oh yeah, that's a little better. They're getting going the right direction for you.
Need some line?
There we go. Nice
Oh,
little
he's
guy.
pretty. He's going, I can't breathe.
Good job, baby.
Thank you. Mwah.
Little guy. Well, now we're going the wrong direction. We went smaller. But that little finesse worm, sometimes when we get these cold fronts moving in, that finesse worm will trigger a little bit better on the fish, but also sometimes we'll get a little guy.
They're not liking me right now. They keep pretending that they're gonna come here. Yeah, either that or a big chunk of weeds. Oh, look at that. You can have a fish salad. Okay, just a salad.
That's fish. Yeah, it's shaking. Unless you found a way to make weeds dance.
My worm does not like this.
I don't feel like I'm doing anything.
There you go. Came off. Bummer.
Oh no!
He's just swimming at you. There he is. We're getting a little bigger now on the finesse worm. There we go. Nice little guy. Tell you, this is pretty much what I was talking about at the start of the show. Versatility. When you have these fronts coming through like this cold front coming through, like I said, we've had water temps, or the water temps are staying steady. They're right at about 70, 71 surface temp. We've had nothing but 80s and 90s throughout these last couple weeks. Front's coming through right now. It's only in the mid 60s, a little chilly. The breeze is blowing, northeast wind. Started off with a great topwater bite. I'm getting my butt handed to me now on these soft plastics. Finesse worm and a Senko. Versatility under frontal conditions like this. Versatility is the key to staying successful on the water. Now when we're running these finesse worms, we're actually doing the same kind of concept as we would do with a Senko. We're going to Texas rig it. Only thing is, I will add a little heavier weight. Instead of that 32nd, I've gone to a 16th ounce just because we want it to have a little bit more of a head-nose dive to it when she's going down and working through those weeds. Now, finesse worm, as you can tell, it's a little bit thinner in diameter. So it's a smaller presentation, thinner diameter, and we'll actually, instead of running the EWG hook, the extra wide gaps, I'll actually go to just a straight offset round bend. Still has plenty of gap with the thinner plastic like that, and it won't give that bait any more added weight. It won't change the way it falls. It'll have a nice fall head first rather with that weight. Generally speaking, that finesse worm will really start shining, especially when the barometer's really starting to drop down, just like we have right now today. The barometer's dropping, finesse worm's still working, the Senko's still working as well. But I may have to put my topwater down and start pitching a plastic myself here.
Fish was there. He just came out of nowhere. He is under the boat, Tone.
You know what? He's right in that main weed clamp. till there. He's just under all this.
He's under there.
There he is. Well, that was a lot of work to get that little guy. But he went right into all that clumps. Sometimes you just gotta go in after him.
Right through the lips. Sorry, I can't grab you in your face. Open.
Frame them.
I'm working on it. I'm busy being tangled in my.
Ew, it's got a big tongue.
Fish.
We have to put Brandy on the finesse worm.
I'm perfectly fine with the one I have.
There's a lot of big crappies out today.
It's number 2, right?
It's the second dead crappie we've seen floating. Doesn't really look like he's beat up at all.
Yeah.
Those bigger bass will definitely chase the crappies and bluegills around. There's fish. Oh, a leaper and a battler. Oh, get out of those weeds, please.
There it comes.
They can't all be big, but they sure are fun. Especially when you can catch them on topwaters like that. We got a little bit of sun breaking through right now. It's actually getting a little warmer. Generally speaking, when that sun starts getting a little higher, we'll usually put the topwaters away. Definitely in a frog situation, you know, if we're staying on pads and things of that nature, you know, I have no issues throwing a topwater and a frog pattern, fishing that heavy stuff like that. But that sun starts breaking through, that topwater bite's going to seem to start to die. What we can start doing is we can definitely fish our finesse baits, our Senkos and our finesse worms. But one of my all-time favorite baits when we're still looking for those active fish as a search bait, when the sun's up a little more, is a spinnerbait. Spinnerbait is by far the most versatile bait you have in your arsenals. You can cover every level of the water column with a bait like this. The faster you retrieve a spinnerbait, the higher in the water column it's going to ride. So we can work every level, and especially in these weeded situations like we have here on Patterson, those 2 single hooks, they really won't snag many weeds on you. It'll ride up above them, and it'll get through the cabbage and the milfoil very easily for you. And what's nice too is always have a little stinger hook on the back end. So many times fish will come up and just kind of swipe at a spinnerbait or suck it in. And if we don't have that trailer hook on the back, we'll miss a lot of those fish. So little tandem hook setup, tandem blades. What I like always is running a Colorado and a willow leaf combination. You get a lot more flash off the willow leaf, a little more vibration off the Colorado. And that is an excellent 1-2 punch on lakes like this. The weeds out here on Patterson, you know, we'll get those really heavy clumps to it. Right now it's not too bad. It's the first part of June.
I got a fish.
Brandy's got a fish already. Oh, I think she just popped off on you.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we'll let it sink again.
But these weed clumps are forming already, as you can see just over my shoulder, some of these floating mats. And you know, as we get into July, definitely the dog days in August, it's almost like a carpet out here. You think you could just about walk across the lake. But don't let it fool you. Don't think that these fish still can't be caught. We can run these soft plastics like we're doing here. Use that little trick I showed you with that 32nd ounce bullet weight just up in front of it to help it weave through the vegetation. But definitely, you know, cloud cover, early morning, in the evening, just before sunset, throw those top waters. Maybe we'll even get on some of the pads. We'll show you how we can break down some of the pads out here on Patterson and frog them, and that's a good presentation all day. And we'll even try to get a spinnerbait bite going here. Like I say, that spinnerbait, one of the best search baits for active fish in any body of water. Another good key way to attack Patterson is a lot of these lily pads that are set up. And what we can do, we can fish that Senko and actually fish it right up to the edge of them. Basically pitch right to the edge of those pads. And there's still a good amount of vegetation all the way out to that first break line. And basically we'll fish it real slow. You almost just kind of want to crawl it, let that Senko have a lot of pauses so it can work its way through that vegetation. But this is definitely a dynamite presentation out here. And it's just another option if you didn't want to go over the route of fishing a frog in the pads, just pitching right to the outer edges of them. If you see pockets, you know, some openings back into the pad field itself, you know, don't be afraid to go in there and pitch in. The fish will be sitting in there. Right now the pads aren't overly thick, so there is a lot of holes to the pads. It's a lot easier to get fish in and out of them. Let me let you guys in on a little secret here. If you run fluorocarbon lines, which I definitely do, especially whenever we're running soft plastics, this is actually line and lure conditioner, and this stuff is amazing. It takes a lot of the memory out of your fluorocarbon. It makes it a lot more softer, more manageable. You get better castability with it. At first, I always thought stuff like this was more of a gimmick, but this stuff is unbelievable. How much it improves the manageability of your fluorocarbon, your castability. Yeah, it is the best stuff. That KVD line and lure magic, line and lure conditioner, definitely a must-have if you're fishing fluorocarbon lines. Right in the corner of the mouth. Little guy. That fish actually ate it pretty light. I was actually kind of picking up what originally I thought was just a little bluegill playing with it. It was peck, 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 peck. And finally he was able to pick it out. But a lot of times when you're in thicker vegetation like that, if they're having a hard time getting it out of whatever it's in, you'll feel that little peck, 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 peck. And most guys would, you know, think it's nothing more than just a bluegill messing with it, but it's actually a bass trying to get it out of whatever that plastic may be wedged in down there in the vegetation. So always, if you're feeling those pecks, keep a tight line on them. It may not always be a bluegill. They'll just pick it up, start running with it. That's what that one did right there. I just threw it out. Was letting that thing slowly work its way through those weeds, and all of a sudden my line took off. Always got to be careful, watching your line, paying attention.
You think they're gonna be able to come up? Yep.
See, what's cool is you can actually walk the frog, just like we do our spooks. So if you have a little clearing in the weed patch or the lily pad patch, we can actually get it to walk the dog, get that zigzag going. And then once we're back in the pads, start hopping them. And when these pads get really thick, sometimes you'll see these fish come up, and they'll actually stay sometimes a foot, 2 foot, 3 feet behind the bait. And it's just they're having a hard time maneuvering in some of the structure back here. And basically what you want to do is actually just kind of slow down a little bit. Integrate a couple pauses at that point, then start it up. This way they'll be able to key in on it. It'll give them a little time to get up closer to the bait itself. Looks like we got a little rain coming in now again. The nice thing about Patterson, one of its most famous pieces of structure it has are these lily pads. And what we like to do in these pads, obviously, is definitely throw a frog. And kind of that same concept that I like with my other topwater baits, like when we're throwing a spook out here, like that white belly. This has that little bit of silver flash. This is one of the jackal frogs. What's nice, it's a good soft plastic, so when a fish comes up and grabs that bait, what's going to happen, as soon as he pushes down on it, those hook points are exposed and they'll go right in them. Laser sharp hooks. And what I like to do, they come with really long tails to them, and I'll actually trim them down, because I've noticed if you trim the tails down, you get a lot less strikes that are going to occur further back behind the bait. They usually make better contact with a little shorter tails. So trim the legs up a little bit. When we're frogging in this thick stuff, this is really combat fishing. As you can see, I mean, this is really thick pads, and this will just do a number on your gear. So we go real heavy. This is actually 50-pound braided line, and the braid is no stretch to it. It'll actually slice right through the pad. So when we hook a fish, if he goes down, I can rip him right out. Extra heavy rod, a lot of backbone to it, and we need it. We need all the backbone we can get to get these fish out of this cover. Even a little guy, you'd be surprised. He'll hook, if you hook a smaller fish on regular tackle, it would just be almost impossible to get them out. And especially with some of the bigger fish that are out here on Patterson, we got to definitely beef up our ball game when we're going back into the jungle here. These frogs are virtually snag proof. We'll throw all the way right up into this stuff. Just kind of hop it along. You can integrate some pauses into it. Same as like when we're fishing a spook too, or a popper or anything like that. You know, we do not want to set that hook until we actually feel the fish. Sometimes you'll see those pads move. When the pads get real thick, you'll see them actually literally part ways and open up, and a fish will come up and eat it. Sometimes now when the pads are still a little sparse, it'll just be a kind of an explosion out of nowhere on you. But you can see mixed in with these pads, we do have more of that vegetation underneath it. So it's all the more reason that we got to run this heavier gear when we're coming back here and frogging. Because as soon as they eat, they're going straight down. When they go straight down, we got to be able to pull them out of this scuff. There he is. Oh yeah. If you can get their head up just like that, it makes it a lot easier to get these fish out. That's a good fish. My goodness, she engulfed that thing. Oh. I guess you could say it's a safe bet she wanted that frog. My goodness. Thankfully, she's not hooked in the gills. Just right in the roof of the mouth, but right in the back of it. Real pretty fish. Good thick-bodied fish, eating healthy. That's fun. Getting back in that real thick stuff out here. Bring your heavy gear, throw your frogs. I'll tell you what, this is the best. Spot on fishing right here. Spot on the spot, two kinds of structure come together. Pads, thick cabbage underneath it. Spot on the spot on fishing. Hey everybody, we hope you enjoyed today's show, showing you a little bit what Lake Patterson here in Aurora, Illinois can offer. Like I say, right now the weeds have not come up that high. We will see probably in the next month or so, we'll have a lot of real thick mats, but we hope we shed some insight to it and just how you can fish those mats. Remember that trick with the Senko, running that little 32nd ounce bullet weight up in front. It'll help get through those weed clumps a lot better, down to the mats, underneath the mats rather, where those fish are hanging out. But we showed you we can catch them on top waters, we can catch them on plastics, be it a Senko, a Finesse worm. We've even had fish go on the frog today, back in the pads. It's still a little early, especially with this cold front pushing through for that frog bite to really get going. But it just gives you an idea of some of the action you can get out here. Don't let the weeds fool you. Don't let the lack of shore access fool you. Get out here, take advantage of this great fishery. I'd like to thank my girlfriend, Brandy, for coming out with me today. Hope you had fun out here on the water.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Guys, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to email us in. Until next time, we'll see you on the water somewhere.